So far we have seen different terminology in ethics. So for doing this ethical scrutiny, we need to emphasize on 3 points. What is that? Free will, knowledge and voluntary action. Okay. So after that we have seen some of the ethical principles. So while dealing the ethical principles, I told what is the meaning of the principle. Okay. Principle is the basic truth that will form the fundamental, basis for deciding anything. Okay, what is the advantage of the principle? If you decide some of the actions are the terms, if you remember some of the terms as the principles, then in any situation you can consider that as the ethically correct. Okay, so in the starting itself we have seen how to decide whether some action done by he or she is ethically correct or not. How to decide that? To decide that we need to see those 3 characteristics. Okay, but it is very tedious process to every time go back and apply those 3 conditions. So for that now if you can remember some of the principles, then they will come very handy. Without even thinking about them, then you can always say that these particular terms or these particular actions or these particular qualities or these particular characteristics always treated as ethically correct and morally right. Okay, but have you observed, so far I never defined what is the definition of the ethics. Okay, but we are seeing what would be the ethics, what characteristics will become the ethically correct. Okay, why? Because this ethics, the concept of ethics will change from scenario to scenario, and in the ancient times itself, we started the discussion on these ethics, and especially the western countries or the western philosophies are the first one to started this. Even in our Indian philosophical schools also we have this ethical thought even from the ancient days. Okay, but since it was not inscripted on the scriptures, we somehow lost in the process, and we don't have the what we call it encrypted scriptures to know about them. Okay, and here based on the situation and based on the what we call that whenever some situation demands, for example, if you take any democratic government or any other government, there the main concern is doing the maximum help to the maximum people. Okay, in that case, even though if there is some harm to the minority people, we can justify the actions of the government based on some particular theory, or in some other situation it may not be applicable. So what I'm trying to say is, based on the different situation we can apply different ethical thoughts and principles. Okay, in the same way there are different theories of ethics, different theories of ethics. Generally in case of IAS exam, we should know very well about these different theories of ethics. Why? Because there would be different situations, and your only skill is to identify the appropriate theory and apply that and justify your answer based on that. That is how you need to write. Why? Because it is a theory, descriptive exam, and you will be asked to answer some of the case studies. Okay, but fortunately in our IAS exam such type of questions may not be asked, but still you need to know about these different types of theories. Why? Because in the objective questions, sometimes they may ask match the following, or they may give some particular situation and they may ask you to relate based on which theory you are able to justify the given sentence. Like that they can twist in any way. So only thing is you need to know the theory and understand the real meaning of that, so that in whichever twisted manner the question asked in the exam, still you are able to answer that. Okay, so quickly we will see that different theories of ethics. So broadly these are classified as a VCR. You remember in this short format VCR. You know, in the previous days we use this VCR to play some movies, and also you remember like that. VCR. V for virtue, C for conduct, R for rights. Okay, so virtue based ethics, conduct based ethics, and rights based ethics. We have already seen different ethical rights. Okay, right to freedom, right to expression, right to know, right to privacy. These are all basic rights, irrespective of their position. Every human being should be entitled to those basic rights. Okay, so based on that we will decide, based on those rights, if you are deciding the ethicality or a morality of any action, then it is called as the rights based ethics. In the same way, if it is based on the conduct, then it is called as the conduct based ethics, and if it is based on the virtues, then it is called as the virtue based ethics. First we will start with the virtue ethics. Okay, so what is the definition of this virtue ethics? Okay, so here the conformity and conduct with the moral principles. Okay, what are the moral principles or ethical principles? Here I will underline the important words here. Moral principle. We have seen the principles. Principles means it is well accepted by the people. Majority of the people, it is accepted by the majority of the people. See, you need to remember the difference between principles and the values also. In values, we have different types of values. Individual values, social related values, organizational values. So individual values may differ from person to person. It doesn't mean that the value whichever you believe may not be agreed upon by the other people. Okay, for example, if you believe in the very conservative values, if you think that a woman should not go outside and work, that is your value, and you acquire that value based on your perception or experience or belief, whatever. That we are going to see in the attitude, how you develop different types of attitude. It could be either positive or negative. Okay, but if you take some other modern person who believes in the equality of gender equality, then he may not agree upon your value. Okay, in that case there is a dissonance between these two values, but even in that case you cannot say that your value is not correct, but this is individual value. But whereas here the moral principle, whenever say the moral principle, in majority cases these principles are unambiguously agreed by all the people. Okay, so that is the difference. So here we need to conform and conduct with the moral principles. And here this term is very important, voluntary observance. Okay, that means voluntarily you yourself should feel that. Okay, you yourself should inculcate from the inside. Okay, because these principles, whatever principles we talk about, all these are they all come with by nature. These are by nature existing in all human beings. Okay, but how you nurture it, how you bring up, so it's all depends on that. Okay, so for that you need to have a voluntary observance. If someone is trying to force, then only for that particular time you may observe, but after that you may not observe. Okay, so conformity and conduct with the moral principles with the voluntary observance of the recognized moral laws and standard conduct. Okay, recognized, that means majority should accept that, or standard conduct. That this is what virtue. Okay, so here this is looking like a principle only. See, this virtue is nothing but the principle. Okay, so and sometimes you may be getting some doubt, like what is the difference between a duty and a principle? What is the difference between duty? Duty is a simple obedience. Okay, this is a simply obedience. Obedience. See, if you take the duty in the personal sphere, see, as a husband, what is your duty? You need to take care about you need to understand and take care or give emotional support to your partner. Okay, as a father, what is your duty? As a son or as a daughter, what is your duty? Okay, you need to fulfill those duties. Okay, that is at a personal level. But if you talk about the professional level, what are your duties? Okay, for example, we are going to see some more organizational ethics. In that we will talk about the professional competencies. So what are the competencies? Competencies means the basic things that you need to learn about any organization. Okay, in those, there are some of the duties. For example, you need to maintain some confidentiality. That means secrecy of the work that you are doing in our organization, and you need to maintain the harmony and workplace ethics. Okay, so those are all your duties professionally. Okay, this is the professional duties. So to follow these duties, you no need to think or you no need to do any intention. Okay, these are all already set there and you need to follow that. Okay, duties. But whereas the principle is a combination of thought plus intention. Thought plus intention. Okay, if you want to develop some principle, for example, honesty is the one of the best principles, ethical principle that you want to inculcate. Okay, or imbibe in your inside your brain. Okay, so how that will be developed? That being honest is very, very important, and people also will respect. Why? Because for any relation, trust is the base. Okay, that, but how to develop that? First you need to think about this. You need to think, okay, whether I have a honesty or not. If I am not having, then how to improve that. Okay, then for that you need to have some intention. I already mentioned, like for any example you can take Aram se Gandhiji as a explanation. Okay, for example, here Gandhiji, once what happened, I don't know whether it is true or not, but when I was in childhood, I used to read this story. So someone addicted to eating some sugar or something. Okay, so once they went to Gandhiji to control that habit, then Gandhiji asked him to come after 1 week. In between, Gandhiji also tried to control that, because he cannot preach something which he cannot have the control. Okay, so that's how he controlled that, and after that he asked him to come back. Then he started giving the ways to control the same thing. Okay, here what you need to observe is, he has the intention and he thought about this, whether I really have that quality to give suggestion to the other fellow on which in the first place I myself don't have the control. That's what he thought. Okay, that's why he bought some time from him, and he thought about this, and with intention he controlled that, and after that he asked him. That is what this is what the commitment for the principle. Okay, so for the principle you need to think about the particular principle, and then as well as the intention to follow that. Okay, in the same way here for virtue also we need to have the voluntary observance. Okay, I think we spend too much of time here. So let's move on. No need to spend this much. Why? Because in IES the questions are very, very direct. If you understand the basic concept, then that is more than enough. Okay, and one more good thing here is, most of all the questions are objective in nature. If it is a descriptive, then you need to give as many examples as possible. Okay, but here if the question is related to any particular board, for example, he may give something like what is the conflict of interest. Then in the answers he may give different examples. Okay, if you know the concept of conflict of interest, then you can choose appropriate example that will matches with the conflict of interest. Okay, that is what happening in the IES exam. But whereas in the civil services exam, instead of asking this, he may ask the question like this. So what is the concept of conflict of interest, and explain the concept with the appropriate examples, or in such examples what are your moral actions. So he may twist the question like that. So in that case you need to go further deep into the concept. Okay, so here whatever I am teaching here, that is more than enough. So here so how to inculcate this virtue? See, virtue emphasize on it emphasize firstly it emphasize voluntary action. You need to observe voluntarily, and see, we are conforming to the recognized moral laws, and that means we are obedient to what is this recognized moral laws. What is the meaning of this recognized moral laws? Recognized means these are externally formed laws. Okay, for example, what are the externally formed laws in India? So we respect the democracy. That is one moral, ethical moral value here in India. Okay, so like that, we need to have this obedient to external moral laws. Okay, external moral laws. Why? Because there is a conflict between internal and external moral laws. Whatever you believe is totally different from the the well organized or recognized laws in the society. Okay, so this is what it emphasizes, and what in the whole process I am saying, like this is a process. Okay, for example, our end goal is a good person. I want to become a good person. How to become a good person? From the normal person. Okay, from the normal person I want to become a good person. How I become a good person? Okay, so if you follow the virtues, then the virtues will take you to the virtue will make you good person. Okay, so here the end goal is becoming good person, and virtue help you to achieve that. Okay, that is the meaning of this here.